I would identify you as a nerd and David too, but I think anyone who's watching this visually can look at what you two are wearing and immediately know that they're cosplaying. And
well, I'm a nerd for this movie specifically, and it inspires me.
What does Marty McFly do when he's hungry?
Oh, we're starting. I don't know. What's he do?
What does he do?
He goes back 4 seconds.
Oh, man.
I kind of want to say it's bad, but I like it.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
I don't know. I hope it's not indicative of how this is going to go.
I mean, that's how we're going to do every podcast. We're going to open up with a bad pun.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The plus about that is there's only one way to go from there.
Yeah. Further down.
That's a nice vest you're wearing, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. This is the Antimatter Movies podcast. Let's get this started right here.
Antimatter. I'm David.
I'm Jonathan, and we are filmmakers who talk about the movies that inspired us to get into this crazy business.
We do this when we're not making films or editing or doing stunts or fight coordination or writing or
drinking. Oh, wait, no, we are drinking, actually.
Oh, we are.
I'm actual. David doesn't drink, but I decided to have a beer. Yeah. Cheers. Back to the future.
Cheers.
Back to the future.
Woo!
That was supposed to be the original song, actually.
Oh, yeah. Really interesting fact.
I heard about that, kind of. Yes,
View
obviously
like
we are
else.
talking about Back to the Future today, but really fast, since this is social media and we live in a social media driven culture, we have to plug ourselves.
I beg your pardon?
We do. So comments, questions, suggestions about movies, anything you might want to talk to us about, please email us at antimattermovies@gmail.com. And whatever platform you're watching this on, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, whatever else is the
Some
next
new
wave.
uncreated thing we have.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, insert futuristic social media
in
platform.
perpetuity, universally. I do contracts for us. So,
But yeah, we are talking about Back to the Future today.
The best movie in the world.
That's why we picked it, because
the best movie
yes,
ever.
this is David's all-time favorite movie.
It's one of mine.
Is it a film or a movie?
Oh.
I guess it's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a popcorn.
But there's a lot of stuff they say in it. So, I mean, people ask me sometimes, what's the difference between a movie and a film? And I would say, not every movie is a film, but every film is a movie.
I would agree with that.
Okay. I don't know if I do actually hearing it, but what are you going to do?
Well, let's put it to the test. We'll give it 30 seconds. Just let's name a couple. Not every film is a movie, but not every movie is a film.
The Godfather. What's that?
Vice versa. Sorry.
What's The Godfather?
I think that's a film.
It's a film
Definitely
first,
a film.
and it's definitely a movie.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Yeah, but it's not a popcorn flick.
Okay, so here's a good on the edge one. Scarface.
The original or the remake or the one they're
sorry.
remake?
Al Pacino, Scarface.
Oh, that's a movie.
It's a movie.
That's a movie for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
How about Nosferatu, the first vampire film, which is a silent movie?
Only a film because of school.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a movie.
It's much older. Like, when did movies become movies? When did it transition from film to
Oh,
movie?
that's an interesting question.
Well, before we start this
What
podcast,
was the first film versus the first movie?
we actually had a discussion. Are we going to call this Antimatter Films or
that's true.
Antimatter Movies?
Yeah,
And I was
we
like,
did.
Antimatter Movies is more entertaining.
Antimatter on movies.
It's not as pretentious.
And then
this
this is how bad we are. We all start to think about, like I said to John, I'm like, let's see, an A and an M. So my ex is also our graphic designer, and I start to think about the shapes of letters. So I'm like, Antimatter Movies, AMMP. Yeah, that looks good.
I would identify you as a nerd and David too, but I think anyone who's watching this visually can look at what you two are wearing and immediately know that they're cosplaying. And
well, I'm a nerd for this movie specifically, and it inspires me.
There's only, I think I'd only cosplay if it was like an anime thing or something like that, like Fist of the North Star or Berserk. I'd cosplay for that, but I'm not a dress up person. So I'm just wearing
you're a dressed down person, technically.
I'm a serial killer because I'm just like Wednesday from the Addams Family movie.
Yeah, you're missing Lululemon pants.
I am wearing Lululemon shorts right now, and a Lululemon shirt. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lululemon without even knowing.
Speaking of cosplay, I must say that Michael J. Fox really inspired me as a kid. And
what's the first time you saw?
First time I saw the movie, I was really, really young. I don't know the exact age, but must have been like 7, 8.
I was 12 or 13,
yeah,
so that makes sense.
Yeah, and it honestly was on TV. It was on TV, and it was just playing, and I didn't even see the going back in time scene. I remember that the first scene that I saw, he was already back in the 50s, you know, and he was meeting Doc Brown for the first time, and he was like putting that, you know, plunger and trying to read his mind, you know.
Oh,
and that was the first scene. And from that moment, I don't know, something like just struck in me, and I was just like glued the whole time. And of course, you know, you understand later on that it's a time travel movie, but I was just obsessed. I remember seeing that, and I was like, I need to find another copy of this film, but during those days, we didn't even have a VHS recorder, and I think maybe there was video stores where you could rent stuff in those days, but maybe it wasn't as popular. So I didn't know we could rent this out. If it wasn't broadcast on television, there was no way I could see it. So I just like remember looking through the pages of the TV guide, trying to see when Back to the Future would stream again.
Imagine if like your child self, someone told you about streaming movies.
How would you
like you might have just your brain would have exploded probably. It's like, what? It's insane. Yeah.
But I was obsessed.
You'll be able to pull stuff out of the air and watch it.
I was like that for Highlander. I would always wait for Highlander to come on.
I used to play pool with Brad Merman.
Oh, well, good for you.
What was your first time watching
I don't remember exactly watching it. I was thinking about this earlier. There's only one image that sticks out in my mind from the first viewing. It was when Leah Thompson kissed, you know, Marty McFly, and the look on her face, she was just like the pure like gassiness, the disgusting, because she's like, she just it's like kissing my brother. And I asked my dad, like, Dad, what's wrong? He's like, well, she just kissed her son. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? I don't understand. And he's like, it was an awkward thing. He's like, just watch the movie.
It's a good thing you didn't grow up in my family. You would have been sent to the big dictionary. With the gold lettering and the gold gilded pages.
I don't think I got
look up incest.
Either as a kid. I didn't understand that scene.
Yeah, I think you know it's weird though. Yeah. You know, like even like I was old enough, like I think I was telling you before we did this that I think I had started at Pacific Theaters and I saw it. It was like one of my first jobs other than newspapers. So I got to see it in the theater at like 13 years old. Like, oh wow, this is crazy. And I saw it like I don't even know how many times because I worked there while it was out. So I probably saw portions of it or the movie, I don't know, 40, 50 times.
Wow.
So I had the benefit of that. And I loved him too, by the way. I was a big fan of the movie and of Michael.
Yeah. I mean, it made me want to watch Family Ties, like everything
you
he was
go
in.
back. Like,
yeah. And then it made me want to.
Back to the Future.
It made me want to dress up like him, like a nerd, be good at school. Like, it was like so funny.
Did you register Republican or Democrat when you were 18?
Technically, I was in Europe at the time.
Yeah, David's Belgian, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's European. Yeah. That's always a
you only became a citizen.
Are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm European.
Yeah. You only became a citizen a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, right? Like in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I've only been voting for a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh. So on the rewatch I did for it, you know, it's funny. I've seen it 10, 15 times at least at this point. I always forget the beginning.
Why?
Like, I don't know. It doesn't register for me. Like the amplifier stuff and everything. I watch it.
But it's genius.
We love that.
It's good. It's great.
It's don't get me wrong. Of hard plastic, clearly.
Yeah. But I'm like, why does it take so long to get to the time travel part?
Oh, that's what I was going to say when David was saying that earlier too. I'm like, if you miss the time travel part, that's kind of like missing, I missed the part that was black and white up until she opens the door
But this was also another era of film I do find where they were able to make it much slower because the first shot shows so much about the movie, but you don't really understand why they're showing that stuff. And I think it's so interesting. There's time. There's all the clocks. Then
there's my clocks I hear.
Yeah. Then there's the television where they're saying that plutonium has been stolen,
missing, which most people don't get until like probably the fourth or fifth viewing.
And then you see Marty McFly also kicking the skateboard and it hits the plutonium
underneath
box.
the bed.
And then you see all the inventions which are feeding with the food, the dog food
to feed Einstein.
Yeah, and you see that they're kind of not perfect either because the food falls on the floor.
Yeah.
So you kind of see the mind of this person
100%.
who created this.
And it's the humor and the humanity at the same time, maybe. You know, the chinks in the armor.
Yeah, it makes you immediately. You know, it's funny is
What is the opening shot of that? Sorry.
it's what David just described. It's all one take. It's all one take. Yeah. So like when you actually meet Doc Brown, like he dies in that scene right away, pretty much. But terrible. You already know him, and that's the other thing that surprised me is that it takes. Like you had the relationship. Yeah, you had the relationship with him and Marty McFly right away, but you only see him on screen for a little bit. But because of that opening shot, because of how they established his personality with his inventions and how they're not perfect, they're a little rudimentary. It's very DIY, do it yourself kind of thing. You already know the character before he ever shows up on screen. So it's a testament to what they were able to pull off.
Yeah, you have the implied relationship and all that, and John Mulaney has a whole bit about it. And he's like, "Wait a minute, his best friend. So this is like another student." Like, "Oh no! He's like 40 or 80. We're not sure." So his best friend is a disgraced nuclear physicist.
They never describe him as a nuclear physicist, actually.
Oh, really?
He may have just been like, I have an idea, Marty. I'm going to steal plutonium here. And then just like,
exactly.
You're just some random dude who just steals plutonium.
I mean, think about it. The first time he talks to Doc Brown, it's on the phone, and he tells him that his science experiment just worked because he set all the clocks back.
All the clocks are set.
So he's late. He's going to be late for school once again.
Damn, I'm late for school. But the Doc Brown thing too. It's God. Hold on. I've got 2 points now, and I can't articulate them quickly enough. They're both converging.
So what are the points?
No, I literally just lost it as I was saying that.
Well, that's not the first time you've lost something, Evan.
Okay. No, those are my clocks I hear. There was literally something I was going to say, but that's how
it's a movie that demands multiple rewatches. I think a great movie is something you can watch over and over and over again and pick up on something new every single time. So it's like,
even if I don't pick up something new, you totally can.
Yeah.
And it has, in some ways, when you read all these books that show story structure, it pretty much has the perfect written story structure.
Does it follow it?
I think, honestly, within the first 15 minutes, you are pretty much introduced to every single character that's important in this film. And you kind of get a gist of who they are and how they influence their kids, or how they influence, the Strickland at school. Like, you're a slacker, just like your dad. Then you see the dad, the mom, the mom's an alcoholic. Oh, my brother was supposed to get out of jail. He's not out of jail.
Better get used to these bars.
Yeah, kid. But that's in the past. You understand, like, what's cool in this movie is you get a lot of rewards later on because you see this stuff. You're like, okay, cool. They're showing it. And all of a sudden, you're 20 minutes later, you're like, haha, I get why they said that. And that's the reward. And by being rewarded so many times in this film, you're creating a film that just makes you happy watching it. And I think a lot of movies don't have that, the reward,
Even notwithstanding the reward, which I totally agree with you on, I will say this, that I just realized as you said that every time I watch this movie, I am happy. Yeah. I am touched.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I am touched. I am inspired. I'm happy. And inspiration is the, impetus to this podcast.
100%. Yeah. We're all about inspiration here and mostly positivity.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, they never readdressed Marty's uncle. The guy who's in prison all the time.
Little baby Joey.
Do you think he got better after the
did they refer to him?
I don't think they ever did.
I don't think they never really referred to him.
And over there in the
anymore.
crib is little baby Joey. He cries every time we take him out, so we just leave him in there.
But don't forget, it seems like he's actually happy to be in jail. So he already.
No, he even giggles. He's like, ah.
Yeah, he's perfect the way he is.
It's not negative.
He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him.
Well,
Michael J. Fox, so you better get used to these bars, kid.
Yeah. You know what they say? Either you get busy living or you get busy dying.
Oh. Shawshank.
But speaking of alternate universes and also characters that people don't often speak about, well, being the nerd of Back to the Future, we all know, at least I know we know, that the first actor that actually played Marty McFly was Eric Stoltz.
It was. I actually did you see what I sent you earlier today?
Yes.
Yeah. He, going back to the idea of like, the reward of what happens to how his family improves and gets better.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I think the main issue, one of the reasons why it didn't work with him, which we'll get into more details in a second here.
With Eric.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz is he saw
we have coffee on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eric's a great actor, but he didn't work for this. He was seeing it as a tragedy, really, because he's like the fact that he doesn't remember what his family's real like. There's this brand new history now for him that he just doesn't know.
Yeah.
He saw it as being something very, very tragic.
Yeah, because he is a dramatic actor and he just wasn't getting the comedy of the film. But what's funny is when you do see it at the few pictures that they have released of him during that shoot, he does look a lot like Marty McFly. He looks
They
like
have
Michael
a lot
J.
of similarity.
Very similar, very similar. He could have been perfect for it if he just acted differently. And
Oh yeah.
and one thing too is the fact that they actually filmed quite a few days with him before he got fired, which is
I was like 30 something days or whatever.
I
It's
think
like
my guess was like 30 something, but you said it's closer to like 3 months or something.
no,
right?
the whole production was 3 months, but I think he had shot quite a few scenes. It's like when we looked on internet, it was about 30 days or something like that.
It was
I'm double checking. I'm just double checking it right
Yeah.
now.
It's closer to that. But even while he's checking,
34 days of Eric Stoltz.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
pretty significant.
And
If you
it
think
was
about-
it was $3.5 to $4 million was lost filming with him.
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny too is that they did want Michael J. Fox at first, but he was shooting Family Ties, so they didn't
Right.
even really bring it to him. The agents had said, "No, we're
And
not going to do it."
Gary David Goldberg wouldn't let him go.
But also one thing that is interesting is the fact that during that time, and it was the off time of Family Ties, he was shooting Teen Wolf, and when they were shooting Teen
one
Wolf,
point.
there was another production that was close by, and it was being shot by Robert Zemeckis
Oh, he
and
didn't even
produced
know it.
by Steven Spielberg, and people told him that, and he thought, "Wow, that's interesting. I wish I was on that production."
Oh my God. That's so funny.
And then he ended up being in it.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool, right?
yeah.
So these are just like anecdotes, and obviously, of course, once he accepted getting the role on that film, what was crazy is the only way that they accepted him to do it was that he had to do his Family Ties during the day and then shoot Back to the Future at night.
Oh man,
Right.
that sounds
No, I
awful.
read he would sleep in I don't know if it was a town car back then or not. Probably not.
They actually show the car. If you watch some of the behind the scenes, you see him going from Family Ties. He jumps up, goes into like it's just a regular car that drives him to the other set.
But can you imagine after he finished filming like Back to the Future, he must have slept for like a month or at least a week straight because I see here like I'm looking through some internet stuff right now, like they had to carry him in the bed sometimes because he was just so dead.
He had to be delirious.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
it was also crazy because I read his book, Lucky Man, and it's interesting because when Back to the Future released in America, he was actually in London shooting a special episode for Family Ties. So they had been in London for a little while, and then the movie got released in America. And then he starts getting calls from his agent and other people
So he
saying,
came back to this.
well, yeah, they
success?
said, be careful because when you come back, you're a movie star now. You're like an A-list celebrity.
Like a
Everybody
big
wants
deal.
to speak to you. And so when he came back to America, everybody was just flooding to get autographs from him and all that, which he didn't have before,
That's got to be crazy.
His entire life changed because I mean, this movie. I mean, you got to think about it. What a crescendo it was. I mean, can you think of any other movie that deals with time travel in this way that like is better than this? I mean, Terminator 2, Terminator 1 and 2 comes to mind for time travel, but this
Highlander.
Highlander is a time travel.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
as much as I love talking about Highlander, but we'll save that for.
There are things that exist that are not even necessarily time travel, but exist in a certain way that this touches on for me. And yeah, there are other things, but this is, I mean, it's central to the story. I mean, granted, it's called Back to the Future and all that, but it's like you fall in love with it. Like,
Yeah. But it's like
on the ride.
Yeah, it speaks to something where it's like, everyone has issues with their family and stuff like
Oh my
that with
God.
Marty, and like the idea of like going back and fixing the problems.
Yeah. But also Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis, when they had the idea, I know that one of the ideas was, I think Bob Gale told Bob Saget, like,
Zemeckis.
Really? I don't remember
There
Bob
was Saget, there was cursing involved.
Yeah, he told Robert Zemeckis, like, so do you think that if you went back to high school, would you be friends with your parents?
Right.
And that's
Which I've literally thought.
Yeah, and that's the main idea that really brought Back to the Future. I think that started that whole, okay, let's write a script about this.
Sorry, side note. Would you be friends with either of your parents, you think?
I think so.
Or either of them your kind of people?
I'm pretty similar to them. So
I don't think I would be.
I don't think I would respect my father. I might be friendly with him. My mom would have been way too cool. She wouldn't have talked to me.
No. Would you have tried to get with your mom to like
At 100%.
Oh, we're getting
terrible.
Here's
But we're
dark
forgetting
territory.
the fact- but we're talking about the fact of her as a person, not her as my mom. Obviously.
Okay.
Like, would I want to get with like a woman that was like creative and dramatic, like talented dramatically and blah 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 and intelligent? Yes, that type of person, of course.
My parents had told me stories about how they were like, and knowing my parents, there's
And we
no,
left
there's
you
no,
outside the station.
yeah, there's no exaggeration there. That's how they were, and I know I wouldn't have probably.
That's terrible.
I get along with them right now. I mean, but like as teenagers, like and I was I was an angry teenager.
I don't know if I even got along with my teenage friends that were my friends, much less my
Yeah,
parents.
I mean, I'm very good at hiding the darkness within my soul right now. But when I was a teenager, oh no, it was.
Yes.
I was like a wannabe emo who just watched movies all the time and just.
I was legitimately emo and gothy and pretended I was otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many hormones.
Yeah. But that is one of the reasons they would you be friends with your parents? They wanted to do time travel and stuff like that. And I know, so it was Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, right? And they worked together a lot, but their movies were just flopping left and right? They just couldn't get anything made.
They only had one thing that had done anything, and then they had this was their last shot.
I think the first film that they were able to get done, their first feature that they were able to get done was because Robert Zemeckis had made a short film, and he was able to somehow get it to Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg thought, "Wow, there's some talent."
Right, I remember you telling me about that.
So like, okay, fine, let's give him a picture deal because it was at different times, you know. I just think in those days people didn't make as many films or movies, whatever you want to call it, as they do today, and I think they just clicked, and they were around the same age, and it just made sense.
Well, it happens.
Yeah. And then I know they pitched this around to a lot of different places and
Everywhere,
couldn't get it made.
supposedly.
I think one of the funniest stories about the fact that they didn't get it sold was when they tried to present it to Disney, and then Disney said, "No, we can't accept this because there's the son kissing the mom, and that just it doesn't make sense." Like,
yeah, and other studios were like, "Oh, it's not raunchy enough," because like they were raunchy, like Porky and stuff like that was big, and so it's like it was in that in between kind of thing.
It wasn't this, and it wasn't that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that wasn't it Romancing the Stone, right? That
was a big hit that Zemeckis directed, and that gave him the ability to pitch it around, and then it pretty much got picked up after that because it was such a huge hit that it was like you almost get you don't get a blank check for movies when you have a big hit, but you can get pretty close to it.
Nobody was mad at George Lucas when he made a movie for $10 million that grossed $770 million.
What was that movie called?
But that's
a new word, a new podcast.
I never heard of that movie before. But yeah, even like going back to Eric Stoltz, you lost almost $4 million because of this mistake, and like, it's okay, keep going.
I think exactly. He probably made okay money, right? Didn't they have to buy him out?
He got paid his full salary for it, I believe. I believe so. Wow. Yeah, but how much? Always in contract. Pay or play. It's always in the contract.
But was Eric's?
What did he?
Was he known during
before that?
Like before that,
he did that. He did a few movies. There was the one where he was wearing the makeup mask. Was it or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, with Cher.
That was a big hit.
That was a really good movie. Actually.
Yeah, it was great. So
Rocky somebody was the character's name.
Yeah. So
the real person. My apologies.
And he is a good actor.
Yeah, he's great. It just wasn't right for the part. Not every actor works for every part. So
you
it's just
can
the way
have
it
a
is.
different take on something, and sometimes the director will be like, "Oh, that's it." Or I or you would look at it and go, "Oh, well, we didn't see that, but this is good."
Yeah.
And then other times you're like, "No."
But yeah, you look at the.
Go ahead.
I mean, budget stuff like that. Back to the Future, $19 million budget. It grossed almost $400 million.
I wonder what's 19 million nowadays. Is that
don't know.
5?
19? No,
5X.
Like 50, you mean, not 5 million, but maybe closer
like
to
5
50.
times.
Oh, 5 times. Oh, I don't know, actually. Which is but think about that, like $400 million. Like, I think that's pretty much the West. It's like America, maybe a few other countries in England or something like that. I mean, that's about international distribution. So like that's a lot.
is considered low now. So like if we can do a movie for 3.5 and bring in 70, we would get deals all the time.
What's considered indie nowadays? Like 30 million is still
generally indie.
Technically, the Star Wars prequels were all indie films because they're all self-financed by Lucas. So what is indie?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I think respectably, like if you're under 1.5, you're probably pretty dang indie.
Oh yeah, I think that's not even indie. That's like another class. That's just like
right. It's not micro, but it's definitely
a 1.5 million today.
Yeah,
that's indie.
Yeah, that's what I said.
100% indie. Yeah. So they really get made. Steven Spielberg came on to help executive produce it and stuff like that. I think he should kiss his mom. No, that's exactly what he said. Actually, no. What was the original time machine supposed to be? It wasn't a DeLorean.
Know this, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be a fridge.
Oh, a refrigerator? That's terrible.
It's and they recognized that. They just didn't have a better idea.
The refrigerator came back in Indiana Jones.
I was about to make that joke. It's like, I want to reuse it one day. Then he put Indiana Jones 4, and it was one of the worst.
Yeah, there's like a nuclear explosion, and Indy.
And a refrigerator. That's what it was supposed to be.
And the refrigerator survives the nuclear explosion somehow.
Is that legit? Can I hide in a refrigerator?
No.
If there's a nuclear blast?
No, you can't. You'll die. You'll die.
I don't have a basement. I can't
You'll 100% die.
I can put my fingers in my ears.
Even if you're protected from the radiation,
to jail.
Even if you're completely protected from the radiation, the impact,
close your eyes and
you're dead. You're dead. But anyway, he was supposed to be driving the DeLorean into a nuclear explosion, and then there was like something with Coca-Cola involved or something.
It was supposed to be like a nuclear power plant and all that stuff.
Just somebody opens a Coca-Cola and it ruins the world.
The reason that they changed it was because they didn't have enough budget to do all of that.
Coke, no Coke. If you want to sponsor us, we'll still do it. But
actually, I love Coke. I actually love Coca-Cola better than Pepsi, honestly. Not that I want your money. I'm being honest.
But isn't it? It's Pepsi.
What? Oh, well, Pepsi free. If you want a Pepsi pal, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't drink soda at all, so.
But I think at the time also Michael then did like a bunch of Pepsi commercials too.
Oh, was he in like that Michael Jackson era?
Yeah,
Pepsi
so I don't think they would have been able to use anything else.
I don't think so.
If you want a Pepsi pal, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Like Dave Chappelle, it's like
wait.
Pepsi paid me less, so it tastes better.
Yeah, because
Hill Valley, but he says it with a vaguely New York accent. You want a Pepsi pal, you're going to pay for it. Okay, Bob. I thought we were in Hill Valley.
Maybe he moved to Hill Valley.
He came from Brooklyn.
Gosh.
But also, it is kind of fun that they wanted that Hill Valley, that Central Plaza. It wanted to be like any kind of small town in America.
USA.
There was no real location.
I think it was really described as that, wasn't it? Like small town USA or something like that, where he crosses the street. And
it's like the perfect town. And I think it's amazing how they were able to change also that same place from the 50s where it's all clean to the 80s where it's all dirty, and then to the future where it's something else.
Well, the 50s had plenty of dirt in it, trust me. It wasn't as great as people think it was, but hey,
that's to brag. Nostalgia. I filmed there.
Oh, really?
I was in the clock tower building and filmed on the square.
Cool. That's pretty fun.
For actually, this will make him a nerd for a second. For Sliders.
Oh,
super nerdy right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of crazy science fiction, so one of the EP's executive producers was, what's his name? Sidney Sheinberg. So he didn't like the title. So he recommended a different title. What was that?
He left a voice message or whatever it was back then. And I know it, but you'll name check it perfectly. So I'm going to defer to you. Do you remember what the actual title was
that he recommended?
It was something like,
I know Pluto was in there.
Yeah, it was like Spaceman from Pluto or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. What I don't understand that. Like, it's completely inaccurate to what this is about. So everyone, like the director, the producer, Spielberg, are like, what do we do? Like, how do we like?
Right.
And Spielberg's like, I got an idea. So he sends him a memo saying, "Hi, Sid. Thanks for your most humorous memo. We all got a big laugh out of it. Keep them coming. Knowing he'd be too embarrassed to admit that he was trying to be serious, and then he just gave up after that. It's like,
you know how much of that stuff exists in Hollywood when you think about just what we have in our own instances, just in our indie world.
Oh my gosh!
But I mean, I'll give him credit on that title in a way. I mean, it's not as good as Back to the Future, but it is kind of fun because a lot of the old films from the 50s did have those kind of
100%.
Plan 9 from outer space.
So I think that's where he was coming. He didn't understand the film. Obviously, Back to the Future is 10 times better. But I kind of
really didn't understand the film.
Yeah, because we're still in this phase in our history where science fiction wasn't seen as being like a legitimate form of storytelling that was deserving of like budgets and recognition and stuff like that. And like these going back to the old school, like 50s and 40s sci-fi, and everyone's like Spaceman from. That's what it sounds like.
And they kind of made fun of it too in the movie. I don't know if it was written afterwards or not, but when he crashes the car into the barn, and then there's the kid that looks at the comic book and looks at him, and they show it, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's an alien!" You know.
That was why they chose, which we talked about. That was why they chose
the DeLorean.
Yes, the DeLorean, because from the front,
it looks like a spaceship.
It could technically be round. Yeah. It's angular, you know.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're actually
going doors.
Yeah, and I'm glad we are actually talking about DeLorean because I don't think the movie would have been as epic without it.
Would have been the same thing.
No, I think we should do this podcast and not even discuss the DeLorean once.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Let's pretend that it was a refrigerator. It was a Frigidaire.
Yeah, it's like talking about
a refrigerator in that barn, and he crawls out of that, and it's totally cool.
It's like talking about Star Wars about the lightsaber. Oh. The same basic idea, right? DeLorean, I mean, like,
there's always one piece of tech.
Yeah, the DeLorean is forever bound to this movie.
Oh, they're tied
I mean,
together.
The guy who it was, what's his name? His name is actually DeLorean.
John DeLorean.
Yeah, John DeLorean. Like his entire legacy is because of Back to the Future
and cocaine.
That too, obviously.
That's a different story. Here's a documentary.
That's a different podcast. That's the Legal Beagles podcast.
That's the next episode we're going to talk about there. Though. We should actually talk about that one day.
We should.
But yeah, they were already like defunct. They were already bankrupt by the time of this.
The cars were terrible.
And even they kind of make fun of the fact that it's DeLorean at the time, right there.
It was notorious for certain problems, and it was...
it doesn't even go at 88 miles per hour.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Elon Musk is a fan of DeLoreans?
Oh, absolutely.
I bet he is.
Absolutely.
Because John DeLorean was a maverick. So despite whether you like him or the car, the concept, and this goes back to us as indie filmmakers and things we're inspired by, like this movie... He was, in many respects, a guy like us.
Yeah.
In that respect. He was kind of a jock, you know, so in that respect, not so much like us, the Biff, and we're not the Biffs.
Yeah.
But so far as like the fierce independence and trailblazing and like, oh, I'm going to do this thing almost like Tucker and inventing seatbelts and headlights that moved and whatever. Like, he gets credit for that.
And I actually wonder if he hadn't gone to jail, if maybe they would have improved. They would have kept on doing the body, but just make it a little bit nicer, and then with a better engine. And I mean, I've driven a DeLorean. It's so clunky. The one I drove didn't even have power steering.
Oh my gosh!
Apparently, that's originally that the first model. It was the first model of the DeLorean. It didn't have power steering. That was an option. Like, it's really heavy,
and also pinion or racing steering.
Yeah, it's like you just turning because it's a heavy car, and it drives okay. But then you don't have
not powerful.
You can't open the windows. The windows open up on the side like this. It's so
the little 4-inch portion.
It's like you just have that little space.
What about the whole rest of the window?
No, you can't open it.
Wow.
I don't know if it was sideways or
up, but open this little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But if they had improved the windows and they improved the power steering and maybe had like a little bit more powerful engine, it wouldn't be so bad for an 80s car, because it does drive like an 80s car for sure. It's not powerful at all, but you do feel cool driving it. That's
the thing. They're tied together.
Yeah, they used 3 DeLoreans on production. It was one for stunts, one for special effects, and one for like hero shots and stuff like that. And they kept breaking down.
Yes,
on set.
I know the number one car ended up in sad disrepair on the Universal backlot.
Yes,
for
many years you would be able to, they have those little bus tours, and then you would go in the backlot and you would see some cars on the side, and you would just see it in disrepair, and it just not even covered or anything, just raining inside, and it's kind of sad. But I think in those days, again, we had film memorabilia, but not as much as today. Now there's toys for every single thing. And we did speak about it in another episode of our podcast where we talked about George Lucas and how he released toys. But back in the day when I was a kid, I was looking for toys of Back to the Future. There was nothing. You could not find Back to the Future toys.
It seems like such a no-brainer. First thing you do, DeLorean.
Yeah, I think the only thing I was able to buy was those like models that you had to like build and glue yourself and paint. That wasn't the DeLorean.
Revell.
One of those.
That name, I forget that.
It was fun. I had a fun time doing it.
I don't know.
Revell. You never built model cars?
I'm not a car person.
And I just used to build models because I like building models.
I built some models of like the Enterprise and stuff like that, and some Star Wars stuff.
That's kind of cool.
Okay,
come on, you know I'm not a car person.
It's a different vehicle. It's the same thing though.
Yeah. I don't even know how to change the windshield wipers. I'm like, you still gotta do that for me.
No,
I'm terrible, Yeah. So, would you argue that the DeLorean time machine is the most famous car in cinema history?
Oh, come on! I'm a car guy.
That's why I'm asking, because I don't know. I don't care about cars.
You get the Mustang from Bullitt. You got the '57 T-Bird from
the Kit. Yeah.
Kit. You got Kit, the Knight Rider.
Oh, Kit doesn't even come close to the DeLorean. No,
you got
the 18 car,
57 T-Bird from American Graffiti with Suzanne Summers in it.
Okay.
I like the Beetle too. From what's the name of the film?
You got this. It's technically not a film car, but you got the ZZ Top car.
Okay, here's the thing though. When someone says car movie, first thing that pops in my head, DeLorean.
Yeah.
Really?
I think
just because
I'm thinking.
DeLorean is Back to the Future. Back to the Future is DeLorean.
I mean, I'm just thinking movie car.
I would say
maybe. What was the car from Bullitt?
It was a 69 or a 70 Mustang Mach 1.
I think another one that a lot of people
might have been a 71.
A lot of what people buy like this kind of car if they have money.
It could have been 66.
I think it's the car from Ghostbusters.
That's pretty iconic.
That's something that a lot of people
No.
But not like Back to the Future.
Wait, was Ghostbusters after BTF or before? They're right in the same era.
Was before. The
first one was
Let's see here.
Definitely.
But here's the thing. You mentioned Ford Mustang. Would it have been as good a movie if they used a Ford Mustang instead?
No.
It would have been different, and I'll tell you why, and this is me movie nerding for real.
So, sorry, Ghostbusters was a year before Back to the Future.
Yeah. Not that long. Okay.
Well, I think the thing is that
Jewish grandmother. Not that long.
Oy vey.
Hi.
I think the thing is that if they had used a Mustang, people know what a Mustang is.
Yeah. And only Socias drive Mustang.
Yeah. Whereas a DeLorean, I don't know if as many people.
A lot of people didn't know what they were.
Exactly. So just
mostly California had them.
Mm-hmm.
But Ford wanted them to use a Mustang in the production.
Can you imagine?
And the producer Gail responded, "Doc Brown doesn't drive a bleeping Mustang." So it's like, can you imagine that?
Say the word and will bleep me?
No.
But he does.
Like, can you imagine that? Like a Ford Mustang. Like,
it couldn't be a Mustang. It would be too plain.
It just goes into it, and this is going to be a recurring theme of this podcast, is like how many small variables could have been changed if like one thing happened and another would it have been the same movie.
That goes back to the spiritual thing, which is on that other podcast that we were talking about. But like I often think about, and this is mostly as a writer, but also as a filmmaker, and I'm sure you guys too. If you think about the amount of variables that have to occur in the right sequence for me to run into you at the Arco on the corner. Like you could have walked out, been like, "Oh, my clothes aren't dry. Oh, I dropped my underwear. Oh, pick that underwear up. Oh, well, that's 3 milliseconds. Okay, this there. Oh, my car. Oh, I forgot my keys. Oh, like for us to just meet at a street corner randomly.
Yeah, but
so I think about that with.
Did you guys meet in Arco? What?
No, we did not.
well, now we're talking more about serendipity and when kind of like projecting your future.
Yeah,
like, the thing is that I think it's a lot of things. It's not just the fact of meeting together. It's like how all these like Spielberg, Lucas, Zemeckis, all that, they're all together. They all created great movies. It's just that they all influenced each other. One person was saying this, then they, like us, like we're talking to each other. And usually that's why like people who hang out with each other usually either go up or down together. And that's why it's very important to hang out with the right people, because they will.
That's why I'm trying to hang out with other people.
Yeah. You usually, well, even like in training, it goes back to sports and all that stuff. You want to train with people who are better than you so that they can inspire you. And then
lifts you up.
It lifts you up because you're like, oh, if he's doing it, maybe you know that person personally. You say, he's not so much more intelligent than me. I can do
possible.
it too.
Yeah.
So you're saying we should hang out with Steven Spielberg more often?
We should hang out.
Sorry, Steven. I'll return your calls finally. Sorry about that, bro.
I haven't seen the Fogelbergs or whatever it is yet.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I heard it was.
that. Yeah.
I'm purposely
really
butchering it.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I actually want to see it.
Meet the Fablemans. Yeah.
All like 97% truth, right?
I think it's based on
think
him
a lot of
growing
it,
up. Yeah.
It was really true. Yeah.
Inspiration
For sure. Yeah.
Well, favorite characters. We should talk
favorite
about,
characters.
like,
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Like we can't say Michael J. Fox because
Okay. So Michael J. Fox is off the table.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox is off the table.
Yeah. But who else like would be like the character that you would just love hearing?
It's selfish to say Doc, so I guess I can be interesting and say.
I'm going to say something controversial to that.
I was going to say
Doc.
Leah Thompson. Who are you going to say?
Well, I mean, I'm going to get ahead of myself.
Who are you going to be?
I'm going
guy
off
who
on a bit
cuts
of a
his
tangent.
hand in the band?
No.
The kid with the skateboard.
No.
Wait, isn't that Tobey Maguire or one of them?
No. That was,
you mentioned Doc Brown and Marty McFly. Something as much as I like Back to the Future, my favorite thing about this movie existing is it gave rise to Rick and Morty.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Because Rick and they're parodies of, or satires, whatever you want to call it, of.
I think it has to be called a parody to be under the law. Yeah.
But I love that show, and it's just like I'm happy it exists. And it's only because Back to the Future. But that's the power of Back to the Future. It accidentally spawned an entire media franchise that's more popular
really
maybe right now.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah.
And
It's
how many
insane.
seasons of that?
It's like season 6. I think it's 6
Yeah.
seasons now.
And they have a bunch of other episodes that are.
Yeah, they have more episodes coming on.
And there's All My Nightmares.
Yeah. Exactly.
I used to fall asleep to it like an idiot. This guy introduced me to it.
Oops.
He's like, what do you mean you love Back to the Future? You haven't seen Rick and Morty? Sends me Rick and Morty. And then a mutual filmmaker that we know ended up doing the promo
the
thing.
commercial.
Christopher Lloyd playing Doc Brown. Yeah.
Chris.
I actually would love to have an actual Rick and Morty film. I do feel that maybe, I guess Christopher
A
Lloyd's-
live action?
I think Christopher Lloyd's a little bit old, unfortunately, because
I think
It wouldn't work as
Yeah.
live action. It has to
You
be
don't think so?
It has to be animated. It's just too crazy to be. I wouldn't.
I think
it
Andy
would be
Dick would
possible.
have to play Doc Brown.
maybe I don't know.
No, we're
Morty.
No.
But anyways,
Oh, no.
on a side note, when I was talking about the kid on the skateboard, you were thinking about Back to the Future 2
What's his name?
with Elijah Wood. It's Elijah Wood.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about the
video
next
game.
one. Yeah,
But-
he's in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
sorry, go back to your original question as I open up my little Croy. Biff. I love that character.
Yes.
I love that.
Why do you like him?
I love the actor. Back in the day, I played a series of video games called Wing Commander, and third and fourth and fifth games in the series started using like live action cutscenes. That was like in vogue that back then and stuff like
With
that.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. So how could you not love like Luke Skywalker and Biff Tannen in the same media franchise and stuff like that? So I was more familiar with.
I'm so disturbed right now.
Yes, you should be. I was more familiar with an actor. What's his name again? I'll look him up here.
Thomas F. Wilson.
Yes, I was more familiar with Thomas Wilson from Wing Commander before I started rewatching Back to the Future, and I'm like, oh, that's That's Maniac. That's Maniac from Wing Commander.
Yeah. I know for a long time he did not want to talk about Back to the Future. And
he was bitter, and what's his face?
Yeah, didn't he have like? Does he have like postcards he would just hand out to people when they ask him questions and stuff like that?
But now in recent years, I've seen he's kind of embraced it again. And
he was showing up in fan stuff.
Played some like he likes to compose songs, and he like funny songs because he has his comedy act and all that, and he has one that's about Back to the Future being.
I just looked him up. He used to share an apartment with Andrew Dice Clay and Yakov Smirnoff.
What?
Oh, interesting.
That sounds like a movie that we do anyway.
But you see, like
so what's the pitch? All right, Yakov Smirnoff. Wait, the Russian guy that that guy. Yakov Smirnoff.
Biff Tannen, because Andrew Dice Clay hanging out in an apartment like
the Dice Man. Yeah, they have an apartment in West. It's got to be in West Hollywood. Make it more homoerotic
or NoHo. I mean, that works too.
Yeah.
I think NoHo is funnier actually. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh,
we open with them at a Blimpies. No,
yeah, you know what's sad about Biff is that every movie in the franchise he ends up in a pile of manure.
They did that.
That was on purpose.
No.
I feel bad.
I'll say for me, apart from Marty McFly, who I really love was Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover was really interesting.
Yes, he played George McFly, and he was just amazing. Apart from him being crazy in real life, I think that his craziness really, really added to that awkwardness, that awkward nerd. Because back in the day, nerds were not popular like nowadays.
Oh my God.
The nerds won.
Is so...
I have a theory about the exact moment nerds won.
The Big Bang Theory.
No. I hate the Big Bang Theory. I think it actually makes fun of nerd culture. I don't like it.
I think it honors it. And it brought it to the mainstream that didn't understand it.
You should talk to Macaulay Culkin because he was offered the lead role and he refused it 3 times. He talks about it.
Oh, really?
In an interview. Pretty
That's interesting.
He's a great guy. I've worked with Macaulay before. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's great. But the moment nerds won is the second that Captain America appeared on screen with Loki in Avengers. I saw it in theaters. I'm like, oh, we won. It's over.
Oh.
I have no visceral.
Why do you say that?
Because I see a crossover, like 2 characters from different like comic book franchises, like crossing over in a movie that made so much money. I'm like, okay, we won.
Yeah,
it's over. Nerds are the.
I agree.
Are the ruling class now when it comes to popular culture.
But it's also pretty crazy when you go to places like Comic-Con and you really see people who should be nerds, people who shouldn't be nerds, and they're all like cosplaying.
Well, I think Back to the Future kind of opened up the doors a little bit because Back to the Future is weird.
Well, and you look at Fox, for all intents and purposes, the character is, even though he's not seen as scholarly, which is generally associated with being a nerd, Michael J. Fox is not a cool kid. The character Marty McFly is not established as a cool kid.
No, he's not.
His best friend is a failed nuclear physicist.
Maybe. Who really knows what he...
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not these prototypical or stereotypical things either.
Well, you look at Avengers Endgame with time travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we'd have... maybe we would have eventually gotten the MC. I don't think we would have gotten it as soon as we did if it wasn't for movies like Back to the Future.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe is based on time travel and multiple parallel universes.
It is now, yeah. And you mentioned this in our conversations before, David, where, I mean, really, Back to the Future kind of introduced kind of started broaching the topic of the multiverse and Rick and Morty.
Right.
I mean, look at Rick and Morty.
That's what gives me the nightmares.
Yeah, a lot of the writers from Rick and Morty went on to work. Like a former writer for Rick and Morty is a showrunner for like Loki and a bunch of other stuff. So it's like,
or not that funny, as it were.
I mean, it's fitting in a way. So I mean, look how important this movie is to like our modern cinema landscape now.
I think because time is such an important subject too. No matter if you're rich, poor, healthy, not healthy, whatever culture in the world, we all have to face time. We all see people getting older. We see people dying. And it's something that's relatable to every single person on this earth.
I don't remember who says it, but somebody says, I can always make more money.
Yeah, can't make more time.
Yeah.
Although I will say if not having Back to the Future exist would have stopped Tenet from being made, I might say get rid of Back to the Future.
Wait, what from being made?
Tenet?
Tenet?
The Christopher Nolan movie?
Yeah, it's not good.
You know what's funny?
So I consider myself lucky.
Yeah, I travel a lot for filming and stuff like that. Whenever I'm on a plane and I can't sleep, I'll just turn on Tenet. 10 minutes in, I'm out.
You should send that thank you note to him.
Thanks, Christopher Nolan.
Thank you,
Tenet
Chris
is a
Nolan.
masterclass of trying to reproduce the genius that you've produced in other films, and
Yeah.
kind of becoming a parody of itself.
I mean, it was sort of like a combination of like James Bond and like I guess Back to the Future about the humor in a way.
I mean, the idea is actually not bad.
But that's I mean, sorry, Mr. Nolan. I mean, you've made a lot of great movies, but that wasn't one of them. But anyway, what's the question I was about? I just got on the train of bashing Christopher Nolan, which I just realized I kind of enjoy that now, actually. Huh. I am looking forward to Oppenheimer, though. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I am looking forward to it. But yeah,
I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
I'm really curious to see that explosion that he did for the movie, but
yeah, then they do it. He always
they did it for real.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, because he really wanted that mushroom.
I was gonna say with touching back on the Back to the Future thing with the nerd thing, like I would not have been comfortable, though I wasn't, because I was actually in auto shop, and so like the nerds didn't accept me because I wasn't in that world either. So I was always kind of like a hybrid that existed in all these different worlds. But when Back to the Future came out, that's kind of where my identification was with like Marty. Like, oh, he's not really a nerd, but he's not really like, we can joke about it or whatever. But it's like, okay, he skates, he plays guitar. I was like, oh wait, I do all these things.
Yeah, but he is kind of cool too. I mean, yeah,
he kind of is.
He has a beautiful girlfriend. He's
got a gorgeous girlfriend.
Yeah,
and he almost pulled his mom.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like that.
Oh my gosh.
That could have that would have created like a paradox where he has fathered his own son.
Like in Futurama, where Fry becomes his own grandfather.
Oh, I forgot about that. Futurama, good show if you guys have never seen it.
It is a good show.
Yeah.
Twisted though.
Oh my gosh. I just lost my train of thought again. There's so much to talk about with this movie.
Sorry.
It's
So
insane.
before the nerd comment.
Oh yes. So Marty McFly, I think he was designed to be someone.
About Chris Nolan some more.
No, I'm good. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I think Marty McFly was designed to make it so everyone could relate to him.
So they
not too nerdy, but
right
he's smart. I mean, he's kind of cool, but not. But then he's also friends with maybe a failed nuclear scientist. Who knows?
But they made sure that they had him with a skateboard.
Yes. Yes.
Because everybody knows nerds don't skate.
Yeah.
Do you think they're implying that he invented skateboarding?
Because we're going to take that away from him too. Wait, what was?
It was
it's Marvin.
Yeah, John Mulaney say like, oh yeah, we're gonna say a white guy actually wrote Johnny Be Good.
That's kind of like his Forrest Gump moment in a way.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it on purpose, but hey, you know,
they knew that everybody. Yeah, it's totally like.
Oh my gosh, what if Back to the Future is responsible for Forrest Gump as well?
Back to the Gump.
Think about it, like he
Forrest to the Future.
He invented like rock and roll, and then in Forrest Gump, Forrest Gump invents the dance for Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I guess
so
you.
I forgot about.
I guess you're not ready for that yet, but trust me, your kids are gonna love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a Blue Surf and Beef. Watch me for the changes and try to keep up.
Yeah.
You know the one thing about I hate being that guy who nitpicks stuff, but the science of the time. I love it actually. Because I'm a science nerd. I literally research this stuff all the time. Like I love physics and stuff like that. It's funny so the Earth is moving at an incredibly fast speed, and the solar system is moving around like the center of the galaxy. I think we're like going at it's like 150. It's in excess of 100 miles a second. Mm-hmm. So if you were to travel backwards or forward in time without actually physically moving, you just like travel on time, you end up in space. So as soon as you travel anywhere, you're dead.
I don't understand this concept.
No, because like the thing is the car is not moving in space.
It's moving in time.
Right.
So if the Earth is turning around and it's moving through space, and at the speed that he said, then the Earth is not going to be in the same location when they land.
So you just might end up in Africa.
No. You're millions of miles away.
No, the Earth is moving way more than
100 over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
100 a second. 100 miles a second.
If you're lucky enough that it's back at the same location, you'd probably end somewhere in the Earth.
Okay.
So you're supposing that the motion that you see at 88 miles per hour is a forward motion. What I am supposing is that it's an inception point, and that motion becomes particles, if you will, and it's no longer a forward motion. Therefore, when you reassemble, much like Star Trek, you would be in exactly the same space.
Well, maybe that's it, but let's put it into a way that more people can understand. Imagine you're on a roller coaster and you want to travel in time 3 seconds. 3 seconds, okay? And you're going to be in the exact same position on Earth 3 seconds later. You're not going to be in your seat in a roller coaster. You're going to fall. Does that make more sense?
Terrible theme park.
Haven't they been able to like in Star Wars, like, make one atom go from like teleport to one other place?
You mean Star Trek?
In Star Trek, sorry. Like they've managed
That's not time travel.
Well, they can literally do it with the
They've actually managed to do teleportation, like for real, but only
like quantum physics and stuff like that. But we don't want to get too deep into that. But
only like one atom at a time. Like something silly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like saying that the machine is going through time, but also teleporting back to that location.
Yeah, I'm sure
so they're like, see this gnat? I can teleport 1/100th of this gnat.
Yeah. But so, if Doc Brown's calculations are correct, maybe he invented a computer that is smart enough to know where the Earth would have been at that moment because he knows so well.
Calculations
not in the 1980s. I don't buy that. But the thing is like
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah. If you travel 30 years back in the past, I mean, you're going 150 miles a second with the Earth. Let's go ahead and
you're done.
Let's talk about how you're able to travel that fast instantaneously. That's more impressive and less dangerous than time travel. But
can I humorously bring us back to something? Sure. It's just from a writer's story point of view. He was hanging a picture in the bathroom and he fell and hit his head and came up with the flux capacitor. Who the was hanging a picture in their bathroom?
Sorry, it's 18. I know. No, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hanging a picture in my bathroom. I slipped. I hit my head. I came up with the idea for this. Hey, no, I got a friend and her and her husband. They have 3.
What was he standing on?
They have 3 pictures in the bathroom hanging over the toilet, and it's of people like going to the bathroom. So every time
I'm
over there, I just like, it's like a woman, like she's squatting like over a ship thing, whatever, and her husband's holding her
SHIP.
Yeah, ship. Yeah, that's what I said. And so every time I'm over there and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go look at your pictures in the bathroom for a little bit. It's like, I'm gonna go pee.
Okay, so you know what you just gave me the idea.
Sorry, the Earth moves approximately 18.5 miles a second.
A second.
Wow, I was way off. Yeah,
ridiculous.
So I'm going to do some calculations here. Continue on.
Okay. Well, this might distract you from your calculations.
That's okay.
I think that I'm either going to make and or market, but definitely probably going to make and put in my bathroom. I'm going to ask Rose if she'll do it for us, our graphic designer. A fictionalized picture of Doc Brown standing on a toilet, nailing a picture to a wall in a bathroom.
Oh, that's kind of
above
funny.
My toilet.
Perfect.
But then we're going to talk about this. Like, well, so what happens if I jump up in the air if it's going at 18.1 miles per second? Why wouldn't I be like 18.1 miles away?
You'd be in New York.
Kidding. No, because there's gravity.
So based on my calculations, which I could be wrong, the Earth is traveling approximately.
If my calculations are correct,
1.6 million miles a day.
What? 1.6. Okay, so what's the circumference of the Earth?
So that's 583,416,000 miles a year. Then times that by 30. I mean, that's 1.75 miles raised to the power of 10.
Because it makes sense because there's a sun. It's going around the sun.
So you're saying what's about 17 billion miles or 1.7 billion miles.
But is that the rotation of the Earth or the rotation?
It's 1 gigawatt.
No, it's moving like it's just moving in space around the solar system.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the Earth moving around, rotating, revolving around the sun, and the sun revolving around the center of the galaxy. Or I'm sure I'm off a little bit right there.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments can correct us.
But we're talking about billions of miles you've moved in a second.
Billions.
You think the Enterprise can travel fast? This is nothing.
Excuse me.
Oh, impressive burp.
Thank you.
So upon a rewatch, what are parts of this movie that you think haven't aged as well?
Oh, haven't?
I think if you watch the Blu-rays, unfortunately, some of the makeup like is very. You can really see the makeup is.
I haven't.
They actually did a great job on the makeup. I can't say that the makeup was bad because they did a great job. But on the Blu-rays, you can see all the details, and it doesn't look so good.
And that shot where Marty's hand starts to disappear.
That's
and even the director said he didn't like how that shot ended up looking.
But you're limited by the tech that you have.
Yeah, that's okay.
I mean, the thing is that the movie is it's a special effects movie without having that many special effects, and they do talk about a lot because
excuse me,
because the movie was pretty low budget for
what it was
and that's why they actually had to make the music so big. So they decided to get the big orchestra because they said, well, let's make all the VFX look much more epic by having a huge orchestra. Let's make it the biggest. And it makes it so much more memorable. And that's why you feel that this movie has a lot of VFX, but it just doesn't. Really, really look at it.
It's very little. I mean, I think it was like 19 shots that
it's very music driven, though. If you think about when he comes out of Doc's house, I guess, which is the Gamble house, I think you were telling me.
Exactly.
27 to 32. You think they know exactly? Yeah.
He kicks that gate. On West Victory, the Burger King.
Because even when the time machine travels through time, you see you see a spark and then you see like fire. Lighting fire is not that hard on the pavement, so that's how they kind of got away with a lot of the stuff.
With the practical, but
it's simple.
That was clearly fire.
Yeah, but it was simple VFX to do, but to create an epic result. Right. So it was a smart way of doing things.
And adding the music to it, like your point.
And adding the music to it just made it epic. And that's something that the 80s and 90s movies were amazing at doing. And even the 70s movies are great at doing that. And nowadays we don't have that
Maybe Tarantino.
It's a certain kind of... No, Tarantino doesn't use any visual effects in his movies.
No, I'm talking about music.
But doesn't Tarantino also take a lot of he takes a lot of older music too?
Yeah.
Whereas I think in those films that I'm talking about, they used to compose a lot of new music.
Yeah. Well, now
I think is kind of crazy.
What's the name of the guy that composed BTTF?
Let's look and see.
I'm so sorry, sir.
There's only so many names we can keep in our brains.
I actually know your name. I've forgotten it. It's LaCroix's fault.
Alan Silvestri.
Yeah,
Alan Silvestri.
How did we forget that? He's like
because
famous.
He's done like half the films.
Yeah, well, and it's just like you feel the violence.
And he did the Avengers movies too.
Oh, back to your other concepts.
You see.
But I think nowadays because also he's so big, the companies have become so big, and it's kind of composed by him, but it's also composed by other people on his team, and so there's a lot more to it, and they have to probably do so many films.
There's certain people in music even whose names as big producers that I can tell you have like 7 people under them that bring them what they now call a beat, which is a track.
Yeah,
but like literally it'll be like, oh, what do you got for so and so, and then they bring it in, he's like, cool, maybe tweaks one thing, his name goes on it.
Exactly. Like those I don't know, there was just something about the music back in the day. Maybe it's because we didn't have Spotify and we didn't have a billion artists and YouTube and all that stuff. You just kind of also you rewatch those movies over and over again, so it just kind of sticks.
Yeah, and there's less options out there, and you got to work harder to find it. So there's more of a satisfaction when you're able to actually get that to happen, and you can experience it again.
There is a lot of similarities though, like in a lot of songs between one movie and the other, Star Wars, Superman,
violence and the swells of
well, they're all done by a handful of people. That's what
they're all emulating John Williams, let's be honest, in a large respect. Like
John Williams is emulating a lot of the composers from hundreds of years ago.
They're a great pop acts.
And then also the music of John Carpenter. That's another person that I think people know his films as a director, but he composed a lot of his music, if not.
I didn't know that.
And actually now he's doing much more music. He's still doing a lot of music. That's always been his love,
Well, any other thoughts on this film?
I was going to ask you guys as a relative question to it. Would you do a period piece, or would you shy away from it, or a recent period piece?
I mean, like a recent period piece. Like what, certain
times? Back to the Future is, for all intents and purposes, mostly a period piece.
I guess so. it would have been cool if they'd actually done a remake of Back to the Future in 2015.
Okay, that's a better
Yes.
question. What would you do if you were remaking Back to the Future?
I would go back to 2015 and then make it so he's traveling back in time to 1985 and then just
So you
play
just
up all
make
the
it so
jokes.
the title made sense for your OCD.
No, not at all. No,
You
it
would
was just,
want him to actually go back
Yeah.
to the future.
I think it just makes sense because they always go 15 years into the future.
30.
Yeah, sorry, 30. Yeah, because
55, 85.
Yeah, 30,
Yeah.
30. Every time 30, 30, 30. You know,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of makes sense.
yeah, but they can never remake any Back to the Future stuff because both Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis is in their contracts. They have to have final approval of anything,
Yeah.
and they'll never get final approval.
So it's only if they come up with
They'll
something.
remake, they'll remake it eventually one day. You know, actually, there is a Bollywood remake.
Oh my
That's a couple of years old.
Is it amusing at least?
That's disturbing.
I didn't watch it. I just
Oh,
saw
you didn't
articles
wanna
about
ruin
it.
it.
I think it's probably pretty bad.
I didn't know about that. That's
Yeah,
Did you just Google
action
Bollywood?
replay.
yeah.
Is that what it's called? With two eyes?
I don't know. I just read an article that they were remaking it. I didn't
Did
look further.
they try to sue them for this? Because that seems like they shouldn't be allowed
I mean,
to do that.
Bollywood
we're talking about
parodies
Bollywood. They're
everything.
not going to really
They're not
be
gonna
able to
find
do
it.
anything.
Well, it was
Even if-
really bad reviewed. So
I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna try to sue somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
if you want to see a musical of Back to the Future, go watch
the musical Back to the
musical,
Future, right?
Which,
Yeah,
which
I haven't seen.
it started in London and now they just brought it to Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping they're going to bring it to
Is it
LA at some
good?
point.
Do we
Yeah,
know?
it's amazing. Like the reviews are really good. It's 2.5 hours long.
I don't
something
know
like that.
what songs you come up with for that.
I'm sure they can find a way,
I'm
but
going back. Like,
to the
It
future.
doesn't seem that honestly. They do a lot of musicals on.
Mom, I don't feel comfortable with that. Like, I don't know.
But maybe because I'm a theater nerd, so like I like to watch musicals sometimes, and they did do like they've done like Forrest Gump. They've done.
Oh, I could see him doing the DeLorean backing off onto the stage.
I mean,
with the
think about
smoke.
like
it would be great.
like yeah. I mean, Grease works really well. Like,
Did you see that Grease Live thing on Fox?
no, I haven't watched it, but they
Back to the Future Live could be interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, Back to the Future is a movie that will probably, as long as human civilization exists, it will be around.
Yeah, I mean,
in the
even
collective
Evil
consciousness.
Dead worked as a musical. People know
that's
that.
interesting.
I think it's entertaining.
But now that we're talking about music, so I think this is a good place to stop. I think we're way over the hour at this point now.
Yeah.
So, everyone who got it
Barry.
this far, thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, leave a positive review of whatever platform you're watching this on. And feel free to email us at antimattermovies@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. And our next episode will be Empire Strikes Back. So feel free to catch up with that before we broadcast that episode next week.
If you're not human, repeat this entire broadcast again, and that way we'll get paid more.
Yeah, over and over again. Yeah, so we can
Yeah.
get the view counted up.
Use
All
that.
right.
That's a good plan.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.